Oa mai.
Oamai.
There you go. Perfect. So koefisili oivernia ike ole po amai.
Yeah, I gotta mix it. You know.
That's the question, and these are you can answer.
Oh.
So you can say.
My la. No.
Which one are you looking at?
The one at the bottom.
Fia.
Fia.
Maua.
Maua.
Lem.
De.
Manuia.
Manaua.
Try this. Don't look at the screen, but just listen to me.
Okay.
Manu.
Manu.
Ia.
Ia.
Perfect. Na.
Na.
Ia.
Ia.
Oi.
Oi.
Mahalo. See, that was perfect.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. All right, that was awesome. So as you can see, it's not that difficult. It's not as like a lot of times we put up that wall thinking we can't get over it. But I really believe everybody can. If I can do it, all of you guys can do it. All right, so moving on to the next. How many more slides we got? 3?
So
we finished that slide.
So 2 more.
Okay, so this is where the parting comments come. We already asked each other how we are. We're about to say goodbye to each other. These are the things that we say before we get to saying goodbye. So this, in other words, these are kind of like cues to tell the other person you're talking to that, you know, the conversation's over, I'm about to leave. So the first one we have is, yeah, wali late. As soon as I say that at the store, when people are coming in shopping, they're like, okay, yeah, they'll be telling me to, yeah, have a good day at work, and I'll be telling them like, I'll see you later. Same thing with so walu mua mua. So with so alu mua mua, it's like you're asking permission. So and alu mua mua means so please, I'm gonna leave first. Sa ifa kope ngai mea laiki. And as you can see, like we have the T and K and they're interchangeable, but I didn't want to get too much into that in this lesson. But just realize that when you use the K, it's a more comfortable tone. But what this means is say ifa kope. Again, I'm asking permission. Yeah, say ifa kope. Yeah, so I'm going to hurry. And ngai mea laiki means like I've got a few small chores that I gotta hurry up. So that's what that one is saying. Yeah, I'm gonna hurry these things up, and I'm gonna bid you farewell, kind of thing. And then the last one down here is like the most. This is the most polite of the 4. This is something that you would say if you're talking to somebody older who you want to show respect to. You don't want to offend them by saying, you know, any of the top 3, because that's kind of like somebody who's a peer, somebody who's on your level. So you would say, this one is Vaiatu leanga woyailo tuatuangia. Vaiatu, which is again asking permission, but it's more polite than saying so'u. And then leanga ua, which means because I have, and tuatuangia means I have a previous engagement that I need to get involved in. Yeah, I've already planned something, so I need to be doing that. That's basically what this last one means. So again, these are interchangeable. So if you're going to say ya walile, and then somebody can reply so walumumua, they can also reply with the parting comment. But because we're practicing, I mean, they can also reply with a farewell. But because we're practicing parting comments right now, we're going to pick one and then use one with our partner. And whenever you're ready, Leone, makamai oefa mole mole.
Oh, yeah, Tabita. Sa ualu mua mua.
Yeah, so if I kope ngai mea laikiki.
So laikiki is singular. That means like you're doing one thing. And because we're making a general statement, that's why we use the plural, which again, there's no famamafa there. There's supposed to be a famamafa for the A, but it's, yeah, say fa kope ngai mea laiki.
Okay, yes, sir. Yeah, say for copying ngai mea laiki.
And then kosole a laiki.
Laiki.
Yeah, malo lavata vita malo. Okay, Vern, amaka mai oe, and then ikeole, then you reply to Vern fa mole mole.
Okay. Yeah, what is late?
Malo. Ikeole, if you're still on mute, and then let me know when you're ready, and then I'll sound out the one you want to say. Just let me know which number, and then we'll go through it.
I'm doing number 4. I think I got the first part. I'm gonna try it at first.
All right.
Beratu leaga ui
Iai.
Iai.
Mm-hmm.
Iai. Ilo.
Lo'u.
Lo'u.
Tua ngia.
Tua mia.
Tua ngia.
Tua miga.
So, okay, when I'm hearing you say the G's, you're still saying M's. So, why don't you try, instead of trying to say the G, just use N for now. So instead of leanga, try to say it leana. And instead of tua ngia, let's try tua nia.
Tua nia.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with you from the beginning on Vaiatu, and then again, don't look at the screen, but just hear what I'm saying and repeat after me. Okay? Okay. So we're gonna start ia vai.
Ia vai.
Atu. Leana. Very good. Waiai.
Iai.
Ua. Iai. Lo'u.
Lo'u.
Tua. Nia. Very good. Malo lava. That was awesome. Thank you guys for making this a very comfortable and family experience for us. Like, everybody's always worried, especially me when I come on here, because like when I saw Vern was coming, I was super self-conscious, because Vern is like one of those guys who can just rattle off Samoan without thinking about it. So I'm like, I don't want to be like mispronouncing my words in front of Vern. But like, we all as a family come together and we work together and we make sure that, you know, nobody gets left behind. So I thank you for and then Dana, when you're ready, can we go to the last? There we go. So again, with our conversation, we started at hello and then we're going to end at farewell. We have two ways of saying farewell right here. We have ia manuia leaso and fa soifua. Now, I know we've already kind of said goodbye in the first slide, but we're going to do it again here so that we have the actual end cap of our conversation. And then we'll go into the story about Vaya. All right. So I would, Dana, if you don't mind, can me and you try one just to do it, you know, because I want to get us both involved. And then we'll practice it for the rest of the class. And then once me and you are done, then Leone and Vita and Vern and Ikeole can go on from there. All right. So I'll start. I'm going to say one to you, and then you just say one to me. Yeah. Manuia leaso.
Soifua.
Maro. Patiliba. Fakai.
Had the easy one.
Okay. So it's Leone and Vita from Monemone.
Okay. Yeah, Manuia leaso.
Yeah. Soifua, Tabita.
Malo. Just one little remark in there. So as you notice, Leon is very comfortable just adding in the name. So if you know the person's name and you feel like you want to make that jump and just add it into whatever we're saying, go ahead and do it. The more comfortable you feel, using these verses, the easier it'll be to come to you. So if you want to try something, go ahead and do it. Yep. Okay. Olua Vern ma ikeole fa mo.
Yeah. Yeah, Manuel eso. Ikeole.
Fa soy fua.
Awesome.
Fast. Let's try the soy fua one more time because we got a soy fua instead of a soy fua. So soy fua.
Soy fu. Should I say the last word?
Soy fua.
Soy fua. Right?
Fua. So it's just one solid like fua. Yeah. There's no okina in the middle of the u and the a. So just fua.
Fua.
Yeah. No worries.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm saying no worries to the person on Messenger. But yeah, that was great. Thank you very much, Ikeole. All right.
Good job.
So in the last few minutes, we got about 8 minutes left on the time right here. We're gonna go into a little bit of oral history on the story of Vaya. From Maria Huya Oko Olea Faparangi le Tala le ya Vaya. So in Samoan history, in Samoan history we have all different kinds of legends. Now these legends are different from Samoan. Samoan legends are different from westernized legends because they're not believed to be false or just things that are made up. We have in Samoa what are called tala olivavao, and we have tala fa'afangongo. Fa'afangongo are stories that we believe to be embellishments or things that are not true but just told for entertainment. And then you have tala olivavao, which is where we get all of our li'i titles from, where we get all of our land and all of our boundaries from. Were from the stories from our ancestors and the things that they did that led to the way that things are today, how the villages are shaped, how the people got their different positions within the villages are all based on these stories. So we have stories that belong to the entire country, and you have stories that belong to certain villages only. And that's where it gets to sensitive topics, is because when they go to the village-only stories, these are the things that are kept within the people who are in charge of the village, because that's what they give to what's called suli. Suli are the people who would be next in line to become the next ali'i, or the next holder of the title that whoever's in line to hold the title, that would be the people that they pass on that information to. But Vaya is one of those stories that it not only encompasses all of Samoa, but it also includes Fiji, as well as I believe the Cook Islands also have the story of Vaya. So the story of Vaya was that he was a giant. He was a very, very large man that lived in Upolu. At the time that Vaya was alive, he was world renowned, or at least Pacific renowned, for his strength, and people would come regularly to challenge him to see if they could beat him. Now, when the Fijians heard about Vaya and how great he was, they came to challenge him with their large ship. And when they got there, they didn't realize that their sister Apaula had stowed away on the ship with them. So they were trying to decide whether or not they were going to throw her overboard or not, and they decided to keep her, and they anchored their ship in the harbor over by Mulinu'u, I believe. Now, when they had done this, they decided to sleep the night and then wake up in the morning and then go looking for Vaya. While they were asleep, Vaya came down from where he was, saw the ship sitting in the harbor, and he picked it up and he put it on top of coconut trees. So when the men woke up in the middle of the night, they realized that their boat had taken on water, and they began to grab the water and shovel it out of their boat. Now, when they shoveled it out of their boat, they realized that the water was not hitting the ocean, but it was hitting the tops of the trees, the tops of the coconut trees. And that's where the the proverb that we're going to talk about today, which is called Talio Aipopoe. Talio Aipopoe. When Talio means is when you kaliliu, when you take the water out of the boat and throw it out. Popoe is another form of the word popole. It means when they were throwing the water out and they were hearing that they were no longer on the ocean, but they were on top of a tree, they began to feel very afraid. They began to have great anxiety because they realized that Vaya had put them on top of the tree, and they were scared for their lives because they realized that he was huge. So they came out and they asked for forgiveness from Vaya. They had, so yeah, so when the crew had found out that they were on top of the trees, they asked for Vaya's forgiveness, and they offered their sister that had stowed away, Apaula, to Vaya to become his wife in exchange for their lives. Now, that union ended with Vaya marrying Apaula, and the brothers served under Vaya for a time until Apaula became pregnant. When she became pregnant, she said in Fijian custom, it was customary for her to return to her family in Fiji to give birth. Vaya allowed this, and the brothers and Apaula returned with a pregnant Apaula to Fiji. But when they got to Fiji, the brothers' attitudes towards the child had turned because they feared that he would be as powerful as his father. So a boy was born by the name of Savalalo. Savalalo was born in Fiji, and Apaula had made a feangainga, or an agreement with Vaya, that if he watched the sea and it became red, it meant that they had sacrificed, they had killed the sun. If they watched the sea and it did not turn red, that means that the sun was alive. So when the son was born and he was playing down the ocean, the brothers, his uncles, came down and they took his life. The sea turned red, and Vaya stood where he was and did not move until he started to turn into a mountain. Apaula, looking for revenge, got back on a boat, sailed all the way back to Samoa. By the time she got there, Vaya had already turned completely into a mountain except for his mouth. My teacher told me that. So she went all the way up to his face and asked him what they would do to avenge the death of their son. And he explained that he had a brother.
Oh no.
The village in Apia that stands till today is called Tui Savalalo, in memory of Vaya turning into a mountain by standing there at that place until he became a mountain, waiting for Savalalo. Well, Tui Fatalia Savalalo. So if you go to Apia, you'll see that the village still has a sign that says the name Tui Savalalo. Now, after Apaula left her husband, who had become a mountain, and went over to Sava'i to go look for the brother Vaatosile, she found him, but he was very, very sickly. He was a skinny man with no muscle, nothing. He didn't look like he could accomplish everything. So Apaula was not just disappointed. She didn't believe that he was actually the brother of her husband. So he kept on insisting that he was Vaatosile, but she wouldn't believe him. So over in the village of Tufutafoi in Sava'i, they have something that's called the Fafa'au Sawali'i. What the Fafa'au Sawali'i is it's the entrance to what Pacific Island people refer to as Pulotu, or the afterlife. So all spirits that go from life in the islands, when they're returning back to the afterlife, they go through this tunnel in Tufutafoi called the Fafa'au Sawali'i. Vaatosili told Apaula that he is going to go and sleep in that cave, and once he comes out of the cave, then he'll be strong enough to avenge his nephew. So he did, and that's really a proverb that we hear a lot these days. It says, Vaatosili, Vaatosili, Vaatosili tama. When he went to go sleep in his cave, he came back out and he was as big as Vaya had been. And he was more than strong enough to be able to go back to Fiji and avenge the death of his nephew.
I know that.
But the proverb that comes from that Wa'atoa Tino Va'atau Sili refers to this act when Va'atau Sili came out of his cave and was big enough to, or as big as his brother. We actually went to Tufutafoi to see this cave where Va'atau Sili had slept. And what the narrator explains to us as we watch him go through the village and show us where the cave was, he said that the size of the cave that it is now was actually Va'atau Sili getting bigger and bursting out of the cave. And then when the cave exploded, this was how big his body was. So that is the basic story of Apa'ula and Vaya. Now, when they did return to Fiji, the story ends that he avenged the death of his nephew, and they continued to live in Fiji from then on. I have heard references that this story continues in Fiji, and that there is a village that claims lineage from Apa'ula as well as Va'atau Sili. But I'm still waiting on my Fijian counterparts to come back with us with the rest of that story. But the two proverbs that we have today, I'm going to write them in the chat so that we have them. But these are things that we use when we follow sua, when we say alaunga, when we're just public speaking, even vala'awi laulau. These are different proverbs that we can use to address the people that we're speaking in front of. So wa'atoa letino or va'atau sili. I've heard it used both ways. Sometimes they just say atoa letino letama, but Wa'atoa letino va'atau sili is more specific to the actual Va'atau Sili. But if you hear Mano Sina, it's my daughter. If you hear Wa'atoa letino letama, it's exactly the same. It's the same meaning as Va'atau Sili. It just doesn't name it specifically. And the other one is Talio Aipopoe. Talio Aipopoe. And as you can hear, there's a fama mafa in there and Talio Aipopoe. Yeah, Talio Aipopoe. So if you're like the most basic of Angano Samoa is the Vala'awi Laulau, sit down on the ground and the table is set and you're calling the guests to come and eat, then you would say something. It's called Tapui no Nofuanga. In other words, to say something to address the people, but at the same time recognize your humility in front of the people you're speaking in front of. So that's where Talio Aipopoe would come in. They also say different things like what is the other one? Or and then the other one is But the thing about these ones is that each one has a story behind it. So when we learn the story and we know where it comes from, it's a lot easier to bring it to mind when you need it. But that's the instance. So if I was sitting down trying to tell my elders that it's time to come in and eat, I would sit down on the ground and say, yeah, wa Talio Aipopoe, awa ole wa aufia pa ia maulungo Samoa. Yeah. I feel my talamaya au uma ona tapena le laulau mana te unga matongo fie. So my talamaya au ole wo ready me like that. Simple stuff. And then Wa'atoa letino va'atau sili, usually they say that when you're using the falupenga. So Wa'atoa pa iyo Samoa, Wa'atoa letino va'atau sili, Wa'atoa lano nua. Things like that. It's just basically to say that everybody we needed to be here is here. But that is our Zoom meeting for today. I hope it was worthwhile for everybody's time. And and before we go, do we have any questions? Anybody? That was fine.
Oh, thank you very much.
I have
No, that was good. Thank you.
I have one question. Because like
Yes,
I
Ikeole.
have problems with my G, even in speaking English. Is it like I like practice G's, or can I like use another thing to like make it so it doesn't sound wrong?
I think we just
I
need to
have
like
like a
keep
speech
practicing.
problem. That's why.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Yeah, I have a hearing problem, so like sometimes people talk to me and I can't hear them, and I'm trying to figure out what I should reply. So like usually I just go back to the protocol replies. They think I don't understand what they're saying, but like if I see it written out, so like I totally understand. But I think the best way to do it is to just keep on practicing. If you need to like call me and then we talk one-on-one about the G, it's just gonna come with time. Today's the first day, and you've made like very, very remarkable progress. So I think you're doing
I'm actually
really
gonna
awesome.
use that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna try practice them every day. So.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And,
I like
the
really have a
best
problem with G's. That's why.
the best thing to do is to find somebody to talk to, listen to them, get the connection, and like just repeat what they're saying.
Okay.
Like our language, I'm gonna write it up here in the chat. This is the name for language, and this is probably the best way to learn the G. So this word right here that I just put up, ngana, ngana. You got a long nga and then ngana. That's a good word to practice. Yeah, because you're learning the G and you're what's it called? You're also learning the word for language. So every time we mention the Samoan language, ngana Samoa, ngana.
I took class required Samoan language when I was in high school in Leone. And our teacher, the word for all of us who are real, Papalangi, he gave us the word alangaupu. Practice just say the word alangaupu over and over. That's a great word to practice. And it's going to focus yourself. It's going to help you to say other words in Samoan. So we spent the whole semester just saying alangaupu to each other.
Alangaupu, alangaupu. Ngana. Awesome. Or you could say tingi lau, tingi lau. Follow Matt. Oh, hi, Sina. Wow, hey, okay, pole fua. Mia silia o pe ya o so fua mo mare langi mama. Wow, mangu yo iri uso. Dio, não, eu fui se bem, fui Pinheiro e Covid se fruiva. Ah.
Eu foi Maria bacana para o mais.
Ah, lá. Mas você foi de Caimir Travel foi. Uma ngari isso. Malo levar a hoje. Eh, Lesina. Filemu. Sorry, como dia que foi isso, Pinheiro. What are you doing? All right. Anybody else got any other questions before we wrap it up?
Are you kidding, Dad?
Shh. Come on.
Like.
Okay, brother.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey, Vita, do you mind giving us a quick closing prayer before we go?
Oh,
Papalang, or up to you. Papalang pifasa mo puliao.
Tu Papalang.
Ana.
Okay.
Okay.
Our Father in heaven, come before you, Lord, with thanks in our hearts for this wonderful opportunity that we have to come together and hear these lessons, this wonderful lessons prepared by Maosi. We're thankful for the work that was put into it. We're thankful for the thought and the mindfulness, and we're thankful for the ability to do so. And we ask that thou please bless each and every one of us as we go through the rest of the evening, that we might be able to get the rest and comfort that we need to be ready for tomorrow and the day's work. Please bless Malsi as he continues to work on the curriculum for this group and this class, that we might be able to, through him, we might be able to focus and strengthen our Samoa, and that we might be able to grow and learn more of it. We thank thee, and we love thee, and we say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Real quick before we we get we disperse. I'm probably gonna go for 2 weeks, so we'll probably do this bi-weekly. And I really want to give a big shout out to Dana, because I asked for help and Dana was the most responsive, and she really was like a huge support in all of this. And it was really her drive that helped get all of this together. So me and Dana will probably work together on the next lesson. I've seen a few hiccups here in the things that I did, so Dana's probably going to straighten me out after this. But yeah, we're going to be good, and see you guys all in 2 weeks. Feel free, feel free to share the link if you guys know anybody who wants to learn Samoan. This is going to be a free service. We're not asking for any kind of donation or any kind of monetary support. This is just going to be something that we're doing to help better the community and give back. Okay. All right. Everybody good?
Sir.
Yes.
Okay. Faya soy fua.
Fasoifua.
Ah. Faya soy fua sina. That's awesome. Good job, Mike. I'm really proud of you. You did awesome today, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maro naman. Fa sina. Aru oi sina armoy. Udah berko. Lava nga ay.
I'm so sorry I came late.
Hey, no problem, Adam. We started with only 3 people, so a lot of people came later. You're totally fine, Us. But I hope it was worthwhile.
I got carried away. One of my sons asked me a question on the homework, and I got carried away. And then I looked at the time. I was like, "Oh no!"
It's all good. It's all good. We're gonna do it again in 2 weeks, so okay. We'll be good. Us. But yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks then, bro.
Okay, see you 2 weeks.
Okay. Ora fa kuso, fa soy fo.
Fa soy fo.
Tá.